Hello, hello, hello. I felt like I should make a video that's sort of like an introduction to who I am and what I do, and why is it even the reason that people would even watch anything about what I do. So, to break it easy, I'm an Australian that grew up in the desert, and basically, I want to have access to the capacity to share the information that would allow for everybody to be able to make landscapes immune to drought. But in order to do that, basically, private property rights in regards to the liberal economy prevents anybody from doing anything other than for what is the most profitable ROI, circumstance for society to grow the economic bubble that we call capitalism. And so I'm interested in sharing the political philosophy, political theory surrounding a whole range of things, that be it the historical context or the philosophy that is determining, like, let's say, why people would vote against their own interests, or not even vote, but even act against their own interests, like being anti-union or believing in a meritocratic structure, even though it isn't a structure that we live under, nor is it a desirable structure, because, I mean, it'll breed ableist sentiment, even though we are at a technological capacity where we could provide for everybody if we just had the mentality or the philosophical grounding to recognize our potential as a society somewhat, instead of this liberal notion of the individual being fetishized into, well, technically private property is the thing that we're fetishized to, where we just, that's it, that we put private property above even human rights. And so that's why we don't have human rights. We gave that up. We never really had it, really, if you go from a feudal system to a capitalist or slash mercantilist system. It was never on the table, because people that signed the contracts to create nation states were, the bourgeoisie, and they never got to have, like, create a democracy. We've never had a democratic structure in regards to the fact that there's always been slaves, there's always been excluded minority groups, there's always been, I mean, especially women, for fuck's sake. But every kind of minority group generally has been, of course, oppressed to some degree or another. Again, history isn't like linear, so, like, different places have different circumstances at different centuries, right? So, like, laws in Europe are different than laws in Africa, laws in Australia. Like, it's always contextual. And so basically, the stream that I do every day gets into the weeds, the nitty gritty, complex parts of how everything is somewhat tied together. I do like to have chatters come in and just suggest what they're interested in, to be a potential topic at hand that we could cover. I do have a lot of things, like resources, that I like to put on that would contextualize a certain topic, but sometimes I dig deeper into something that even I'm curious about. Maybe I want to know some more about the information that other people are curious on, or even things that I'm just curious about all about myself, or things that that I end up finding. And so there seems to, when you come in, be a lot of, like, watching, but it's a lot more than that. As long as you communicate, as long as you're actually showing that you're just interested, interested in learning, interested in your own curiosity, my curiosity, and as long as, of course, you respect one another, which my chat is very respectful. It's very safe space, as they say, very woke. I'm team woke. We talk about bullshit jobs in regards to the fact that the large percentage of jobs are completely unrelated to producing for society somewhat. There's the capitalist realism factor, which I have to assume that most people that come in that I'm unaware of are probably living under that dimension of believing that socialism is maybe a utopia, even though it is actually the opposite. It is utopic to think that capitalism is going to produce something to benefit society, like to benefit everyone somewhat, when in fact, of course, wage disparity, income disparity, wealth disparity, everything's, like, cooked, basically. And then, yeah, like, we get into the nitty gritty of pretty much everything. I want to say everything just because maybe we want to watch a 2-hour video about the history of some tech or some plant or some just thing, I guess, culture. It's very, very broad. Be it the oppressive police structure, or the alienating structure, or that is labor under capitalism. Be it the right wing think tanks that manipulate us into perceiving the world in a certain way because they're the only ones being represented on news media, be it the labor arbitrage of like, how basically if you have a job in two different countries, you get paid differently depending upon where you are. And that is because of global labor arbitrage, which is, I know, fancy term, but it's explainable. There's maths to it. Technically, I have sources to the math to it, but like we get to the general gist of it on stream. And then the capacity for like what potential for a movement to the left, basically, because I don't believe that there's like you can vote in socialism or anything like that. It's more that you need a labor movement that is willing to fight for change, basically. I mean, there's more to it than that, of course, within regards to preventing scabbing, but yeah, it's and yeah, how cultural hegemony ties into it, so people aren't going to be striking if they believe that it is the common sense notion to defend businesses. If you're a working class and you're defending businesses, it's made by everything that's contextualized reality for you whilst you were growing up. So like the schools drilled it into you, just buying stuff, like the market has drilled it into you that you should be just a happy consumer. The only reason why you have iPhone, of course, is what people think of is capitalism, but it's not really. It's just labor organized in a structure in which now we just have a brand that we've fetishized into. Now you pay $1,000 for a phone that maybe costs $100 to create. And so, yeah, I don't exactly know how much. I'm just winging this whole bit, but I feel like I need to have like somewhat of an introductory view. So we talk about, I can just keep listing things that we talk about, really, but I guess you kind of have to find out if you were to ask in the stream. Those general concepts that people should be mostly like aware of. So like pretty much everything that is, I shouldn't say everything, but kind of everything that is bad has some connection to the profit motive. Or even if it's just a feeling. Like if it's a feeling, but then you miscontribute that feeling of like let's say your job getting taken away to like some vague notion of like maybe you've been fear-mongered into thinking that it's immigrants or whatever. It's not. It's cutting costs. They're not going to hire as many people if they have technological improvements. Or if they can just offshore their business, again, global labor arbitrage. And so, yeah, there's so many factors that come into motion when the topic is capitalism, colonialism, imperialism, fascism, the lack of intersectionality within the general gist of cultural analysis that is supposed to be analyzed by media, especially like news media. They do a poor job, of course. If you watch the news, then like you're cooked, basically. Is my take, at least. There's nothing that is provided to you on the news that isn't just a spectacularization of an event, right? You get the event that's like 30 seconds, and then you have half an hour or more of people just being pundits, communicating their assumptions, rather than the fact that then people, worst case scenario, are just funded by some capitalists that have put money, millions, billions, into think tanks, which then hire the people to show up on them stations and tell you everything that is pitched to the right. And there's a lot of people that consume that just to get off on the rage bait, basically, of that content. And if you visit my stream, it is a 100% guaranteed chance that you aren't going to see that. I'm not interested in the, like, I want to say like pop news, like popular cultural news, like if it's just like some hyped up, thing that can be blasted on 4K, is just like, it's like candy, but it's like the fall of Western civilization. Like, it's you're not changing. Like, you're not even going to learn anything, let alone change anything. In that endless consumption habit, but. Anyway, I'm not really sure how to turn this off, in the sense that I'm not sure where to end this segment of the video. Like yeah, I guess you got to find out who I am if you're actually curious. And yeah, please come and check out my chat on Twitch, on the chat, TTV, Twitch TV, the chat, the thing. I guess I'll have the link in the description. And yeah, I appreciate if anybody's watched this all the way through. See ya.